This is Czerny Opus 261, number 3. I'm going to demonstrate it first before we go over it. Now, I played it a little slower than I would like to, just so you can kind of get an idea, but it may have still seemed fast. So let's take a look at the actual music. I'll have a link to where you can get the full opus in the description. So let's just break this down first. This is one of the exercises by Czerny in his Opus 261. First thing we notice, it says Allegro. Well, that's pretty much everything by Czerny is going to say Allegro, it seems like. So we're not going to get a very specific tempo marking from him. Let's look at everything else. We're in 3/8 time, which is essentially very similar to 3/4 time. We're just going to have faster looking notes. Sometimes composers will use this to make sure that you play a little bit faster. And there is no key signature, so we are either in C major or A minor. In this case, we're in C major. Now, when you look at the bass clef, you may wonder, that may not look like a C chord, but look at the treble clef sign. Throughout this whole exercise, the left hand is playing in the treble clef. When it shows treble clef, this does mean play the left hand in that part of the keyboard, not just playing those notes, or those note names, I should say. So we're playing up here. Now, the next thing in the left hand to look for is, what is it playing? Let's start with the left hand, because oftentimes I find people will skip past the left hand and not really think about it being as important. Now, in exercises especially, they are. Now, this exercise is geared more towards the right hand and working out the fingers of the right hand, but there is something to work on in the left hand. You notice that that first note looks like two different notes. So it's going to be held down through the measure. It's a part of those 3/8 notes, but it's also held throughout them. So instead of doing this, we're going to do this. So I want you to just try this left hand with me. I'm going to play through it. If you have trouble with it, you can also take it a lot slower. I do recommend using metronome. I'm going to show that a little bit later. So 1, 2, go. Look for the new chord. Chord does not change yet. Now it changes here. Now I did mess up a little bit at the end. There's another one of those notes. So you are going to try to hold down that C through that measure. Now those little weird looking arrows are a type of staccato called staccatissimo. Just treat them like regular staccatos for right now. And it's at the end of every little slur in the right hand. So let's take a look at the right hand. At the end of each little slur, you'll see that little staccatissimo symbol. So we're going to make all of those nice and short. And in measure 3, there's an 8 above it. Often composers don't use 8VA. They just use the number 8 to indicate to go an octave higher in the right hand or an octave lower in the left hand. So when you get to that note, we're going to be going up to this higher register. I'm going to show the right hand by itself too, and then we'll talk about playing hands together and using the metronome to help you to speed it up. 1, ready, go. I think it's very important to use the fingering that it says. Okay, I'm going to show you the side view of my hand just to show you one technique that I think is going to be really important in this piece. Now watch what my right hand does here as we play through these notes. See how it moves from down to up. So instead of just kind of using your fingers as little pistons, we're going to use the arm and the wrist to help it out. This also is great for phrasing. It'll be good to help you to make a line through melodies and to be able to play a little bit louder at the beginning of that little phrase, especially when they're just measure phrases like this. All right, now the hands together method. Because what we're going to need to do is start off by using a metronome. I'm going to suggest you download a metronome on your phone. If you have an old school metronome, that is absolutely perfect. Definitely use that. If you don't, and you're using one that's built into your keyboard, those are fine. I find these to be a whole lot easier to deal with. So let's take a look at what I'm using here. This is just a generic metronome that I found online. It doesn't matter which one you use. This was a free one. I'm not really particular to what metronome is being used as long as it makes noise and ticks at a rhythm. How to use the metronome with this. We're going to start at a very slow tempo. I suggest starting at whatever tempo you are capable of doing. I have this set to 70 right now. So I'm going to show you what that's going to sound like. I'm going to use the one built into my keyboard so that you can hear it better. So when we first start this, we're going to make sure it is 3 beats per measure, like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If you try to go too fast and do it 1 tick per measure, that's going to be very fast. It's actually going to be 3 times faster. Now that might be a good goal tempo. Once you get to a fast enough tempo, let's say 180, which is going to sound very fast, then divide it by 3, you get 60. Then try to do 1 tick per measure. One of the great things about pieces like this is these are exercises that still can be fun to play. So 1 time through, slowly, all the way through, with a metronome going. I'm not going to go at 70. I'm going to choose 120. Now I say that's slow, but I just want you to be able to hear what it sounds like at a little bit of a slower tempo than what I did at the beginning. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do, and leave me any comments that you might have on this exercise or any other exercise that you might have questions on. I'd be happy to answer them, or if you have any comments about how I played it or something that you think I should have done differently, also let me know. I'd be happy to take any comments you might have.